It was what's called user-generated. How many of you know what a user-generated contest is? A few of you. Okay. It's actually as simple as it sounds. User-generated contest is when you ask your audience to create something for you. Now, what do you think the cost was to the AARP to create that video? Nothing. How about the marketing? Nothing. But that video has been viewed on YouTube alone by more than 18 million people.
Wow.
How sizzling was that? It's a pretty weighty, deep message, wouldn't you say? At a cost of nothing to the AARP. Where do most 18 to 24-year-olds get their TV, and let me stress here, TV political information?
The internet.
That's right. The Daily Show and the Colbert Report. Why? Because, sure, it's funny, but also because you'll take on both sides of the aisle. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. If you're full of crap, he's going to call you out on it. Right? Jim Cramer contributed more money to a presidential candidate in 2007 than any other journalist in the United States. You know who he donated to? The Barack Obama campaign. Now, Jon Stewart got in a little bit of a tiff with Jim Cramer, who has his show Mad Money, and wanted to call him to the mat for his responsibility for the current recession that we're in. And
I'll tell you why I think this thing has cost me. It's the gap between what CNBC advertises itself as and what it is, and the help that people need to discern this. Let me show you. This is the promo for your show. Okay. All right, so this is Jim Cramer's promo.
An economy in free fall, investments on the brink. When you don't know what to do, don't panic. Cramer's got your back. Mad Money with Jim Cramer.
Isn't that, you know, look, we're both snake oil salesmen to a certain extent, but we do label the show as snake oil here. Isn't there a problem selling snake oil as vitamin tonic and saying that it cures impetigo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Isn't that the difficulty here?
In 2009, in a Time magazine poll, Jon Stewart was found as the most trusted newsman in America. How about the Colbert Report? Well, I don't know, does that remind you of somebody, say, from 1943?
I want to thank the USO for all their help getting us here.
So as I stated at the beginning of the presentation, once we hit year zero, the tipping point in either direction, it takes 6 years for society as a whole to adopt that new mindset. So, how will the future be different than the past, and what are driving these changes? YouTube, Facebook, and Google are the Kerouac, Dean, and Salinger of today's we generation. Where baby boomers rejected conformity, today's we generation reject pretense. Born into a world of hype, their internal BS meters are highly sensitive and blisteringly accurate. Words like amazing, astounding, and spectacular are translated as blah, 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 blah. Consequently, tried and true selling methods that worked just as recently as 2 years ago are working far less well today. So what exactly are the forces at work? Hopefully don't live in neighboring no more. Childhood innocent mischief is nearing an extinction, which is a side effect of the explosion of technology. Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn have become dusty icons of an earlier North America, and today's kids are finding it more difficult than ever to relate to the drawings of Norman Rockwell. Most kids have never sat at that Thanksgiving table, played marbles, or gone skinny dipping. Today's kids are a savvy, streetwise generation that were never given the chance to be naive. The principal changes taking place are these. Number one, word of mouth has grown into the muscular beast known as interconnectivity, and it loses light and speed. By a raise of hands, how many of you have seen this movie? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's at least 15 people in this room that are lying that did see it, but I would like to, because it is considered one of the worst movies of all time. It was released on a Wednesday, did $26 million in ticket sales. It was down more than 60% by Thursday, and it was deader than a bag of hammers by Saturday. Now, at the same time, there was this movie by these kids out of Utah that probably cost about what they spent to feed the staff and actors for this movie Geely, for, you know, for just a little bit of money, and, you know, the movie did okay.
Girls only want boyfriends who have great skills. You know, computer hacking skills. How was school? Worst day of my life? What do you think?
pleasure.
You ever take it off any sweet jumps?
What are you driving?
A liger.
What's a liger?
It's my favorite animal. It's like a lion and a tiger mixed.
Why are you so sweaty?
I've been practicing some dance moves. Is Trisha here? That's why I went. It's my ride.
So the movie cost about $300,000 to make. And in ticket sales alone, not including merchandising like DVD sales or Vote for Painter t-shirts, the movie grossed more than $44 million. That's a return on investment of 14,000%. How many of you have return on investments of around 14,000%? I don't know. Oh, Dave Corbin says he does, so that's good. So why did the movie work? Well, what's funny, but I'll tell you the reason it worked was because the youth of society who were in high school or just got into college could identify with the characters. Either they were Napoleon Dynamite, they knew Napoleon Dynamite, or they knew one of the kids. In today's we generation, what we are looking for is to make sure that what we're doing is real, raw, and relevant. Everything we do in our organization, we always ask this question: is what we're doing real? Is what we're doing wrong? And is it relevant? If it's not, we don't do it. Technology is rewriting the rules of commerce. Online chat rooms, blogs, and instant messaging are ensuring, whether good or bad, the word gets out. We're moving into an era of transparency in which it will become harder than ever to win new customers through PR and advertising alone. You're going to have to begin to deliver all that you promised in your market materials. Claims of biggest and best mean nothing when customers have friends who are telling them otherwise. You guys remember this ad from 1984, the ad that saved Apple Computer? Well, it made news again in 2007. Now, I'm showing you this video not because I'm taking a political side, but simply to illustrate a point, which I'll make once it's done playing.
1 month ago, I began a conversation with all of you, and so far, we haven't stopped talking, and that's really good. I intend to keep telling you exactly where I stand on all of the issues.
I'm looking at how to help you and other people who are hardworking like you. And I've really been impressed by how serious people are.
Because we all need to be part of the discussion, but we're all going to be part of the solution.
I don't want people who already agree with me. I want honest, experienced, hardworking, patriotic people who want to be part of a team, the American team. I hope you've learned a little bit more about what I'm believing and trying to do, and really help this conversation about our country get started.
I hope to keep this conversation all the way to November 2008.
Now, the reason I show you this ad is for the exact reason that this ad was not made by the Barack Obama campaign. It was made by some guy, some average random guy on his Mac. He simply took the Apple ads and the clip of Hillary Clinton, spliced it together on the technology that comes on the Mac, and that video in 2007, to a certain portion of the population, was a meaty presentation and was viewed by more than 5 million people on YouTube, again with no cost. Now, if this book, I'm Okay, You're Okay, were to be written today, it would be titled, I'm screwed up, you're screwed up, let's get over moving along, shall we? If somebody were to write that book, it would be a Rosetta Stone into important to remember in every generation that you need to avoid pretense, avoid hype, and remember that it's more than okay to be cool. Now, I show a lot of video clips because I think they illustrate the point. So I'm going to show you another Rosetta Stone for an ad for a movie.
What's the prognosis, Fertile Myrtle? Minus or plus?
There it is. Little pink plus sign is so unholy.
That ain't no etch sketch. This is one doodle that can't be undid, Holmes Gillett.
Just tell him. I'm pregnant.
Who's the father?
It's Polly Bleeker.
Oh, Bleeper. I didn't think you had it in it.
I know, right?
Did you see that coming?
Yeah, but I was hoping she was expelled or into hard drugs.
Or a DWI? Anything but this.
Have this baby and give it to someone who totally needs it. You should look at Independence Day, right? They have ads for parents. Yeah, desperately seeking spot. Hi, I'm Vanessa.
Hi, I'm the husband.
This, of course, is Juno.
Like the city in Alaska.
No.
You're a part-time lover, full-time friend. When this is all over, we can always get back together.
Were we?
Yeah, we were with, you know, at time.
Julie, you do this. If I could just have the thing and give it to you now, I totally would, but I'm guessing it looks probably like a sea monkey right now. We should let it get a little cuter, right? Great.
Keep it in the oven.
Bob Searchlight Pictures presents a comedy about life.
Well, I thought you were the kind of girl who knew when to say when.
I don't really know what kind of girl I am.
And the bumps along the way.
Your little girlfriend can be the stink eye in our class yesterday.
Katrina's not my girlfriend, right? And I doubt that she gave you the stink eye. That's just the way her face looks, you know? That's just her face.
I'm even ready to be a father.
Yeah, the puppy version of Junebug. Pretty good.
Start dealing with things way beyond my maturity level. I need to know that it's possible that two people can stay happy together forever.
The best thing you can do is find a person who loves you for exactly what you are.
Juno.
Your parents are probably wondering where you are.
I mean, I'm already pregnant, so what other kind of shenanigans can I get into?
So, if you're having a hard time orienting yourself to this new generation, let me recommend some movies for you to watch. 8 Mile, because not all of us grow up in middle-class communities or even wealthy communities, and it's definitely worth watching. Juno, because teenage pregnancy is a reality. Little Miss Sunshine, a tragically funny look at child pageants. Napoleon Dynamite, because not all of us grow up as the cool kids in school. And Lost in Translation, because sometimes the boy and the girl meet, fall in love, and they really shouldn't. The new goal is to say something powerful instead of just saying something powerfully. The new trend of decision purchase is based on shared values and an alignment of perspective between buyer and seller. Today's customers aren't just buying what you're selling, they're buying who you are. In December of 2003, Roy H. Williams proclaimed, "We're about to finish 1963 all over again, only in reverse." In the 1960s, there were 74 million teenagers glued to the radio, ready to take over the world. Today, there are 72 million teenagers glued to the internet, ready to take over the world. Do you know what their passions are? Do you fully appreciate the bonds that bind them? If you want to understand the changes that are happening all around you in society, you can do one of two things. One, you can stick your head in the sand, fool yourself into believing this won't impact your business, and call me in 3 years, let me know how that works out for you. Yeah. Or number two, find something or someone like the Rosetta Stone to help you decipher people's attitudes and desires of what they're thinking. Just as it took interest, time, and hard work to decode the hieroglyphics from the Rosetta Stone in 1799, you'll have to pay the same price to understand today's world and what's happening all around you. Roy H. Williams was my first New York Times bestselling author 15 years ago. My background is in publishing, so why am I doing this presentation? Because I come from the business and personal development space. I started noticing about 7 years ago. This presentation was initially developed, although it's changed, back in 2003. Understand, what you're seeing today has been presented for more than a decade now. Wow. I noticed about 7 years ago the changes in the business and personal development space, and I have an intense love for this industry. Today, the industry is down more than about 80% from where it was a decade ago. This industry was built in a new generation. What year did Tony Robbins come out?
Right.
91.
1983.
Great.
Stephen Covey. I mean, you look at this industry, it was built around the zenith of the me cycle. If we want this industry to be successful in a we generation, we have to change the way that we think. We have to change the way that we present our information to our audience. It's not sufficient just to be able to say, I'm going to change your mindset. You have to be able to deliver it in a way that is believable to your audience. So you're probably asking at this point, how do I apply this to my business? How will you help me communicate better? How can you help me apply this information within my organization? Well, Greg gave me an hour. This is a 90-minute presentation, so I'm not going to be able to tell you today, but I will give you a gift. I will give you a gift. If you go to pendulumgift.com, pendulum gift.com, you can get access to the entire 90-minute presentation and 3 other training modules on how to apply this information within the business. I'd like to offer one more thing to Greg as well. What I'd like to offer to Greg, Roy and I are doing a workshop in June, a 2-day pendulum workshop that we charge $2,000 for. And I'd like to offer for your box 1 seat at the 2-day pendulum course. Nice. How many of you know the story of the message Garcia? There isn't. Oh, a very small fraction, about 10% of the audience. Okay, so how many of you, those of you that know Message Garcia, keep your hands up. How many of you know the story, or the background on the Cuban-American War? Raise your hands as well. Keep your hands up. How many of you know the Spanish-American War? How many of you have heard of Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders running up San Juan? Okay. So, in 1899, you can put your hands down, thank you. Just over here. In 1899, a publisher out of Connecticut by the name of Albert Hubbard was in a discussion with his son, who was a history student. And his son said, you know what, it wasn't Teddy Roosevelt why we won the attack on San Juan Hill. It was because of this guy who worked at West Point by the name of Rowan. You see, the leaders of the insurgents, General Garcia, needed to be coordinated with in order to coordinate the attack on San Juan Hill. And the American leaders on the ground couldn't get a message into him. They couldn't get a courier in, they couldn't find his encampment. And so President McKinley had brought in his cabinet, and a member of his cabinet said, you know, there's this guy at West Point, his name is Rowan. And if he's a master tracker, he trains all of our cadets on tracking. If anybody can find General Garcia, it's this Rowan. So, Rowan was brought in, and he was given the letter from President McKinley. He caught a boat, and by the dead of night, he landed on the shores of Cuba. He traversed the hostile mountain landscapes for 3 days, until he found the heavily fortified encampment of General Garcia. He broke in, found the hut of General Garcia, and delivered the message to Garcia. This is an image of the two taken immediately afterwards. Now, what's important here isn't simply that the message was delivered, but rather how it happened. You see, President McKinley, Rowan didn't ask President McKinley a single question. He didn't say, am I the right person for the job? He didn't say, how am I going to get there? He didn't ask what supplies he needed. He didn't even say, how do I know when I find General Garcia? He simply took the missive, and he did it. He went and delivered on his own volition the message to Garcia. The benefit of you being here today, the benefit of Greg bringing all of us together, is that he is here, that this event will give you the opportunity and empowerment to go share your messages with your Garcias. It is my firm belief that each one of you are born with a sole purpose, an S-O-U-L purpose, and that sole purpose is reflected in all of our experiences, opportunities, talents, and abilities. And it is your role and obligation to share your message with your Garcias. I want to thank Greg for bringing us all together and all of the great presenters this weekend to give us the best learning to be able to make sure that our message are delivered to our Garcias. Let's give him a round of applause. It's a good day to Fade over the horizon. We're beginning to hear the sound of the new marketing promotion branding, and it's the sound of radio. Today's customers are hungry for reality and truth. I think Carl Rogers said it best when he said, what I am is good enough, if only I would be it only. And what you are is good enough. Be it only. Thank you. So the first thing to know is that that I'll give you some inside figures here. The New York Times is not a real bestseller list. They don't count real sales in real time. Every retailer has their own criteria for how they report sales to the bestsellers list, and in turn, each bestsellers list have their own algorithm for how they count the sales that are reported. What we're doing this week is raising the money to be able to create the sales that we can drive through the right reporting channels in the right time frame to ensure compliance by the retailers in reporting and the bestseller list in counting. The industry is a little unfair. You have a book like Harry Potter, and the Harry Potter will be announced a year out, and the publisher will have a legal agreement with the retailers called an embargo agreement. It's a legal agreement, and if the retailers violate that agreement, they can be sued by the publisher. And in the case of some of the bigger books, they do that. They only do this with 1, maybe 2 books a year. And what happens is the Harry Potter, or those books that are embargoed, will be announced, and the retailers will hold all of their sales for a period of time. And then the day that the book is released, they dump the sales into the system, and boom, they make the bestsellers list. So what we're doing here is evening the playing field. We're doing exactly the same thing, except we're not relying on the retailers to embargo those sales. We are. And in this case, what we're doing is we're taking your donations this week, your bids this weekend, and applying that towards buying the books to give to more needy individuals.
Yeah, and what's interesting is there's certain reporting agencies and companies. Was there 7 of them or something like that? I mean, which is really counts. And we don't have to get into the details of it, but the realities are it's not like if you sold 10,000 books or a bunch of books.
You could sell 1 million copies through Amazon and not make the New York Times bestsellers list.
Yeah, crazy.
No, because it's not real sales in real time. They're trying to create an amalgamation of what they think is selling nationwide. So Amazon is indicative of what sells online. Amazon represents for last year 16.4% of all sales. All digital sales, including Kindle books and ebooks and other things, and the online sale of the printed book, only still represents 26% of all sales. What that means is 74% of all books that are sold are printed books, and they're sold through the brick-and-mortar stores.
Yeah, so what happens is that he's got an algorithm. He's figured out, he's got the super code, so that what we can do is buy X amount of books, just a bunch of books, and he can put them in those certain stores at certain outlets that actually report, rather than putting it in Wisconsin or somewhere that doesn't. The realities are he knows the secret sauce. So he can make sure that those books are kind of stacked to deck, so when the book comes out, it's guaranteed to hit that bestseller list. It's pretty cool. But the realities are everything is a system. And one thing you're going to learn in life, everything's a system. And that system can be taught to other people, or it can be duplicated. And the realities are this guy has mastered it, and that's why he's got 75 for 75. In today's world, you think that you have to sell like a million copies or whatever it is of books to hit these lists, and the realities are those aren't the real numbers. And you'd be astonished to know how many books are being sold in today's marketplace that are hitting these big giant mega bestseller lists. It's just changed because the amount of books of physical books being sold is also changing along the way. Yeah. But by the way, we are getting ready for something exciting. Before we get out of our seats and do this, we'll end with a huge round of applause. I'm going to share with you guys exactly what this is. When you guys walk out of this area, you turn right. You go through the parking lot over there where you're playing the laser tag this morning. You'll see a giant green truck, and that's where we're going to be fed tonight. The idea is to sit around the park, enjoy your meal, and then come back here. We need to be in this room. The show starts at 7 o'clock. What time does the show start? 7. You guys have already helped us, honestly, raise